So look, I know that you're looking at tonight's title and you're going, he's lost it again. Just when we thought we'd rescued old Craig back from the madness, he's back talking about Mbappe again. I know. But bear in mind, I don't write these articles. But there is some genuine truth to this, we believe. So, let's talk about it. Do I think we'll end up signing Kylian Mbappe? Most probably not. But we got to talk about it. Giving you an update on Gvardiol. We're going to be talking about Lavia and a few more bits and pieces as well. JC Galvanil, what if we loan Mbappe but he decides to stay? Well, we'll move on to talk about Mbappe in a minute, my friend. And thank you for your super chat as always, buddy. You're very kind. You know, when you see the story about Kylian Mbappe, you, me and everybody else that's a Liverpool fan goes, yeah, how are we affording that? How are we affording his wages? How are we affording everything else? And here's the truth behind it. I don't know if there's realistic possibilities of him signing for us, but you look at Fabrizio Romano, the idea of PSG moving him on to a Premier League club, even for a year, and getting some money in before he goes to Real Madrid could be a distinct possibility. Now, there are two clubs really being mentioned with Kylian Mbappe. Liverpool on a loan basis for one season, and then there's Chelsea. Chelsea have been mentioned not just as a possibility of a loan, but Todd Bowley and his never-ending bottom pit of money wants to buy him, like keep him. And that's not going to work because Mbappe wants Real Madrid. So whatever way we dress this up, if by some miracle Liverpool managed to find a way to make the numbers add up, find a deal that works for the player, find a deal that works for PSG, it would be a one-year loan. And that would be it. I don't think there's any possibility if he came in that he'd stay. He wants Madrid. Let's be frank and honest about that from the start. But if there's a possibility that there's a number that works for a season, what are you saying? You know, what are we saying? If it's possibility, if it's one season. I mean, I don't know how the numbers add up from Liverpool perspective. I don't know how much of a fee would have to be given to PSG. And I've not seen one mentioned, in all honesty. Seen lots of people say, oh yeah, it'd be a fee to PSG, loan him for the year. Then he signs his pre-contract agreement in January at Real Madrid and he moves there in the summer. So until we see fees or numbers being mentioned, I think we can just put it in the... It's flying, circling around Bullshit Island. It hasn't landed yet. It doesn't know whether it's going to divert from Bullshit Island over towards Anfield Agenda Central. But we move on, and I want to know what you think. Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about the Mbappe situation. This is what he's had to say. PSG would love to find an agreement with an English club for Kylian Mbappe, but the feeling is still the same. Mbappe only wants Real Madrid, no other destinations. It comes down to this. PSG need to save face. PSG cannot be seen to allow the star of French football, the poster boy of French football, to leave a Parisian club for free to Real Madrid. They cannot see that happening. Now, there are very few clubs in the world who financially can't be pushed around. And PSG were always one of them. Look at what they did to get Neymar when they felt slighted by Barcelona after that victory for Barca at the Nou Camp in the Champions League, that Luis Suarez inspired comeback. They went out and they got Neymar to prove a point. I think whatever happens, Mbappe moves in this window. I don't see him staying there past this window. I just don't know if they find an agreement with Real Madrid or if he goes to the Premier League on loan for a season, or I don't know. I really don't know. But it's another headache football doesn't need. Let me say that. Why would PSG want him to go out on loan though? Because they'd receive a fee. And a hefty one at that. Like, not enough that would make the deal, I suppose, that sweet for them, P. But they'd receive a pretty hefty loan fee. And they get his wages off the books for the year. So that's the only upside, I guess, for PSG. Let's hope Mbappe wants to make his mummy proud. Adrian, thank you for the super chat. I was wondering about that, you know. Would his mother get in his ear and go, one season, Kylian, go on, one season? Craig, how much would you pay for Mbappe's wages if he was to come on loan? So, I've seen two different figures mentioned. I've seen 600 grand a week mentioned for that, you know, his wages. But I've also seen, I think it was Cave Solokol on Sky say, when you take into account the very generous bonus and add-ons in his contract, he can earn as much as 2 million a week, apparently. So I think From our perspective, you'd have to think that Nike would step up to some extent if that was to happen for a year, because we would sell a ton of shirts without a shadow of a doubt, a ton of shirts. But it would all come down to the wages, the image rights versus the loan fee. So I can't see it happening unless Nike got involved somehow, and I don't know what that could be. Adrian, thank you. With Mbappe champions by Christmas, imagine, like, even for one season, just for the wow factor. Like, imagine that. It won't happen, but imagine we seen Mbappe lining up for a year in a Liverpool shirt. Be mental. Is the Gvardiol bid real? Do you know, it's a great question, Decanter, and I'm going to do my best to answer it for you. So before we get stuck into it in all of its detail, let me run through where it comes from and what it says. We know one thing about Fichajes is that they have a, what's the word I'm looking for? An embassy on our bullshit island. But Spanish outlet Fichajes have said that Liverpool have looked to make a late move to hijack the deal for Josko Gvardiol. They go on to say Gvardiol is close to joining Manchester City. We know that. I've been reporting that for a while. We also know that they haven't met the number that Leipzig want Manchester City, which I believe is about 86 million. So at this moment in time, Fichajes say that Liverpool have put in a bid. I have no idea. I doubt it. I severely doubt it, because I don't see how Liverpool suddenly have 86 million to spend on a centre-back. But if it was possible, if by any stretch of the imagination it could be done, I don't think there would be a single one of you, me included, that would not take him. He'd be amazing. He'd be the ideal signing. Him, Colwill, those have always been the dream. So look, do I think it'll happen? No, because I don't think we'll spend the money. But somebody asked the question, so I brought it to you and told you where the story comes from. What are we thinking? Fichajes talk crap. Oh, I know, Ben. I know. And we've an ongoing joke here on the channel about Fichajes belonging or having an embassy on our mythical bullshit island. So I'm with you. The only reason I'm bringing it back up is somebody mentioned it, that they missed the start of the stream and asked me to go back over it. Pinching him from under City's nose would be worth it. Oh God, yes. Scratch 83. It would be great. And as somebody else in the chat has pointed out, you know, there could be a little bit of a, well, you could have Carvalho fully, long term. You know, we could look at working that into the deal. You know, we've got a good relationship, obviously, with Leipzig. If you look at the players we've already brought in, player we've just loaned out to them, and Carvalho as well, there's definitely a path of communication there, and I think a mutual respect from both clubs. So, look, I don't think it's true, but God, I'd love it to be. Is Lavia done? It depends what you mean by done. Is he done as in, will he be coming to Liverpool? Yes. Is it signed and sealed yet? No. But it will be. I know, it's not great. We have to be patient a bit here. And I, like everybody else, have questions about why some stuff has dragged on through this window. They're fair questions for all of us to have. As much as I feel uncomfortable saying this, we have to wait and see what happens over the next few days, because I do think we'll get that third, and then it's up to the manager to see if we get the fourth or not. And that's really important, because I don't think even bringing Lavia in is enough personally. We're 1 or 2 injuries then again away from a bit of a crisis, but let's look at the signings that we have made and are making, and I think we'll all agree McAllister looks the absolute business. He is just such a good football player. Szoboszlai looks like he's starting to feel it now, starting to get his groove. Tried a little bit of a chip from distance today as well to catch the keeper off his line. He's looking confident. I've no doubt when Lavia comes in, you know, that'll give a good boost for the team as well. So I think there's lots of positives to be had. Whitehammer said, the summer window is shocking. If we need Fabinho to be sold for Lavia, then the kitty is empty at the minute. Simple. I don't disagree. I'm trying to find ways to word it, but I don't disagree with you. It is very worrying to me that we've made 2 signings and they've cost us between 95 and 105 million, depending on add-ons and stuff. And then it stopped. And you're right. The idea of having to sell Fabinho to get that Lavia money isn't palatable. It isn't. Whatever way we dress this up, Whitehammer, you're not wrong. I think, for me, the decision on this window will end when I figure out what happens after Lavia. Because if we end the window with just McAllister, Szoboszlai and Lavia, it isn't good enough. There's no other way to put it. It just isn't good enough. And it won't be good enough. And we'll be found out throughout the season. We don't know yet. I'll go through some stuff tonight. We'll be talking about Gvardiol. There's been a report that Liverpool are bidding for him. I don't believe it, but we'll talk about it. Matt Schaub said, positive news about Lavia, please. I mean, I can give you positive news. Positive news about Lavia, mate. The positive news is that you don't need to worry about anybody hijacking the deal. He'll be a Liverpool player. It's just going to be a matter of time. He's the one we want. He wants us. He's been impressed with the pitch from Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. His family have been impressed. And we've made it clear all along that we want him. So I don't think you need to worry about that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say to you that you're going to get the here we go tonight or tomorrow. It will be linked to the Fabinho deal, like I've said previously. At least I hope put your mind at ease on whether, we're going to lose out on the kid or not. We're not. We're going to get him. Now, what is interesting about Lavia is Southampton, of course, are in the Championship now. So their season starts a week before ours. So they played their last pre-season game yesterday. I think he played 15 minutes on that one. So their season gets underway next week. So for him, he's not going to want to go and play and then move and go elsewhere. I think we see the movement this week. I do. I think it gets resolved in the next... I'd be amazed if it isn't done by Wednesday or Thursday. Hearing that Atletico are in for Lavia, any truth? No idea. But again, what I've said all along, transfers don't just happen overnight. A lot of the time when you're talking about players coming to top clubs, and I definitely put Atletico in that mix, they're worked on for a long time. And Liverpool have been very proactive in how they've gone about the Lavia deal. In the groundwork put in, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? The vision, the plan that they've spelled out about how he will be implemented, how he will grow. And look, I've no idea about Atletico interest. Truly, I don't. But I also think it's too late for anyone at this point. Lavia will, unless... The only thing could happen is City. If City, for some reason, went out there and decided that they want to get him, maybe. But for us, I think it's just whenever you get the deal done for Fabinho, you'll see Lavia happen quickly. Lavia already came from City and there's a buyback clause in the deal. Yes, well aware of that. They also have a 20% sell-on clause. But the buyback clause doesn't come into consideration until the end of the upcoming season. So he'd have to wait. They'd have to wait to trigger that of 40 million next summer, which is why it makes more sense for Southampton to try and get above that this summer. But as I said, 20% sell-on as well. Say we get Lavia, who else do you see us signing? So I'm going to be entirely honest, Farhan, which I always try to be. I don't know who the fourth could be. And when we get Lavia agreed, I promise you, I will be hitting my few sources that I have. Because I'm not the most connected person. I won't ever claim to be. But I will be looking to find out. Now, to give you information about how it works on my side, the few bits of information I get never come from England. My information comes from Europe whenever I get it. So, Spain, Germany, lower level in the Netherlands. So I never get anything from the club side, which is why I'm always saying to you I don't know about the finances of a deal. I just know when sometimes that a player wants to move. LFC KSA said, we won't sign anybody after Lavia, I'm 100% sure of it. So on that, my friend, if we don't sign anybody after Lavia, how do you feel? Because it isn't good enough, right? They're good signings. Every signing we've made have been a good signing. But if we don't bring in a fourth or a fifth, it just isn't good enough. It isn't. Whatever you want to say, however you want to try to defend the owners or whatever, it's not good enough. It isn't. We can't go in with a squad 5 people less than the season before, where we were already found out to be wanting in midfield, and then not fill the positions. It would be frustrating, and I'd be on the offensive against the owners without a shadow of a doubt. Connor the Red said we'd be in trouble if that's the case. What about Tchouaméni? I don't think he's willing, or Real Madrid are willing to leave. What I'm hearing from Spain is Valverde is the potential to be sold. If Madrid do lose a player, Valverde is far more likely than Tchouaméni, from what I'm hearing. But at that, they might not sell anyone. Do I think he come to Liverpool? No, because I don't think our cheapskate owners will fund it. And that's the big problem when we have these conversations in here. People say to me, would you like Valverde? Of course I would. And so would Klopp. Klopp loves Valverde. I love Valverde. But John W. Henry is a cheapskate. And, that's not going to change, for better or worse. Matt Job said, I'm assuming you're happy with Mackett and Szoboszlai, but would you have done anything different in this market, potentially a centre-back instead of Lavia? I'm over the moon, Matt, with those two signings. Absolutely over the moon. Would I have done anything differently? Probably would have liked to have moved a bit quicker in the market. And I want not just Lavia, I want a fourth midfielder, Matt, because 3 isn't good enough. We've lost 8 players. We're bringing in 2, 3. We need another one. Look, the centre-back situation... Ideally, yes. Of course, we need to get Verge cover. We need to get competition for Verge. It has to be the right person, because this is going to be a signing for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And I don't know, truly, who Jurgen Klopp's target is outside of Colwill. I've been really honest about that. I don't know. I've looked at Inacio. I've looked at Silva from Benfica. I've looked at Gay from Crystal Palace. I've looked at all the candidates that we've spoken about. So I don't know if we'll sign a centre-back in this window. I truly don't know. But if Matip stays and sees out the season, I think we'll have enough bodies to get us through. I just don't know if we have enough calibre of quality to get us through. Because, of course, there are questions about Joel Matip's form. There are questions about Joe Gomez at centre-back. So, yeah, ideally I would want one. I'd want a centre-back, but I'm unsure about what's available for Klopp and the funds. I suppose we should probably talk about the game this morning, because I have watched the highlights, I've watched the interviews, I've watched everything I needed to get me up to speed on it. And you know what? Well done to the boys. And if we can take one thing from pre-season, I think we should take that Darwin Núñez is looking sharp. Darwin Núñez knows where the goal is. Diogo Jota, has there been a better header of a ball from somebody, an attacker who's that small, than Diogo Jota? I mean, probably not, is my answer. I can't think of anybody who is so proficient with their head that isn't a big tall forward like a Crouch or Darwin or somebody else. Jota's an assassin. So, more headaches for the manager ahead of the opening game of the season, but the type of headaches that any manager in his right mind would want. Good selection dilemmas. Ben Doak got himself a goal as well, which was great. Brilliant. Another header. So, yeah, great for him. And a 4-0 convincing thumping of Leicester City, which, again, 3 pre-season friendlies, 4 goals for the Reds in every single one of them. Only difference was today there was a clean sheet kept, so that was good. Really happy again for the lads, really happy. Mohamed Salah with his assists, he looked sharp, picking out passes. Klopp looked really happy. It was good vibes. And Kwanzaa, again, Kwanzaa is a great block, said Maddie. Kwanzaa's been probably one of the standouts of pre-season with regards to the younger lads. I mean, could he be the centre-back option of the future for Jurgen Klopp? Not now. I don't think Kwanzaa's right there now. But again, very good option for Jurgen Klopp moving forward. And he's done himself no harm whatsoever with this pre-season campaign. Kwanzaa was good, said Conor the Red. Yep, he was. I don't want to come on and be negative tonight. I want us to try and look ahead. We have 2 more games to go now in pre-season. Bayern Munich on Wednesday, Darmstadt then on Monday, August the 7th. Now, I'm going to drop a little bit of a bombshell on you. Monday, August the 7th is going to be the relaunch of Anfield Agenda. We are going to reveal all of our new graphics, technology, camera, everything that we have been working on behind the scenes to show you guys we mean business this season on YouTube. We will be unveiling all of that for the pre-season friendly with Darmstadt on Monday, August the 7th, 7 p.m. kickoff. And I think you're really going to like what we have in store. You know, the guys in the design team have been working their backsides off to get everything ready to go. And I think you'll like it. At least I hope you do, because God, if you don't, it'll be an awful sad Anfield Agenda team. Thoughts on Kwanzaa? Looked amazing against Leicester, and I feel like this could be a breakout year for him. No disagreement whatsoever. LFC KSA, no disagreement whatsoever. I thought Kwanzaa has looked very good in pre-season. I've mentioned them a couple of times, and today, from what I've heard, and I've only seen highlights, he was again very, very solid. So he could be a standout player. You know, I feel like every summer we get a young centre back who makes a bit of a difference, and Kwanzaa has certainly made a big impression on Klopp for this pre-season. But it'll be interesting to see whether there's a loan ahead for the young man, or maybe Klopp just wants to keep working with him. It's interesting. Would you sacrifice a centre back this summer and rely on Kwanzaa so that we get two more midfielders? Yes, I would. I don't think as fans techers we should have to do that. Let me point that out. Like, I do think this is again another indictment of FSG, that we're having to have these conversations as Liverpool fans. But yeah, I feel like with Matip staying, because we thought at the start of the window Matip was going to be the centre-back moved on. So with him staying, with Kwanzaa showing promise, with Sepp van den Berg on loan again, yes, I think we're okay if we get the fourth midfielder. But what we cannot have happen is we get one more midfielder and that's the end of it, because that's just not good enough. It is just not good enough. Do you see Ben Doak as a replacement for Salah if and when he leaves, retires? I think that's the plan. Pontus Berlin. You know, you can never definitively say that a youngster coming through is going to be good enough, but there's very high hopes for young Ben Doak. You know, you've seen yourself in pre-season. Even in each game, he's progressing. He added a goal today, which was another big step in that development. So, yeah, Ben Doak looks serious. And whilst I think Mo, I don't know how long he'll have left at Liverpool, but I think Mo definitely has 3, 4 or 5 years left in him. You know, you look at him, he's a supreme athlete. But yeah, Doak looks promising. Is Jota a starting player? Said Matthew. I don't know. Like, when I think about the front three, I always feel that Diogo Jota is better coming off the bench. I don't know how you guys feel about that. It is a difficult one, but again, I'm going to say what I've said all along. I think the 5 forwards that we have at Liverpool Football Club are absolutely sublime, and the options that Jurgen has are tremendous. So it's up to each one of them to hit the ground running this season and show the manager that when they get their chance, they take it. And I'm all for a battle for a starting place. So let's see how he starts. But he's doing himself no harm. Again, in pre-season, he's done very well. I've said this many times. For such a short fella, he's damn good at getting on the end of headers. And technically, he's good at putting them away as well, aerially. So I love Jota. He's a very versatile, very intelligent player that can fill in anywhere. So he'll have plenty of options. Do you think we should move from a 4-3-3 because the defence isn't press resistant? Well, we have moved from a 4-3-3. We now don't play a 4-3-3, Rosie. We play a 4-2-2-3 or a 4-box-3. Sorry, a 3-2-2-3 or a 3-box-3. Now, that 3-box-3 phrase, only fucking a new one that I heard last year. But the formation is we're 4 in defence and 3 in attack. So Trent, as you know, slips in alongside the number 6, and then we become 2 number 6s, 2 number 10s, and the front 3. And the plan is that McAllister and Szoboszlai and Elliott and Jones are going to compete for those 2 number 10 positions. Bajcetic will probably come in as a 6 again in this system. I'm very relieved that Klopp has stuck with this, because I do think the 4-3-3 was getting figured out a bit. And yes, I like the new system. Although I still feel like it can be exploited. The last 2 games of the season, Villa and Southampton. Southampton I would let go a little bit because it was end of season, kind of some people were on the beach, but Villa were able to get at us down that side. So what I've seen happen is Trent doesn't really come back into the right back position. Trent more comes in to cover at centre back, running in a straight line back in, with Canade stepping across to the right hand side. That's what I've seen so far with this new position of Trent. Yeah. Oh, by the way, what do we think of Manchester United's £72 million deal to take Hojlund from Atalanta? because I've been sent some screenshots of some of the United fans' account who again are losing the run of themselves. This dude who none of these fuckers would have heard of 2 years ago now is suddenly the greatest things than sliced bread. 9 goals last campaign, by the way. 9 goals in Serie A. So 9 goals in Serie A, kid's a superstar. Darwin, 14 goals for Liverpool in his first season. Absolute failure, according to these geniuses. So, look, I think Hojlund would be a good piece of business, but I've got to say this clearly. Massively, massively, massively overpaid for what has the potential to be a very good signing. But the Liverpool fan in me is very relieved that United didn't get Harry Kane. Absolutely ecstatic that United didn't get Harry Kane. Because if United got Harry Kane, I'm sitting here thinking they're going to be big problems this season. Now I think they'll be somewhere around 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that. So, yeah, I'm relieved, but he will be a good player, Hojlund. He will. I'm not sitting here telling you he's crap. Nothing like that. I've said before, go and watch. He's a great player. But they overpaid, and they overpaid hugely. So whatever United fans want to say about the Glazers, and you're right to moan about them, you've got my full backing on that. You can never say you haven't had money, because I was chatting to a couple of my United supporting mates. I dream of having some of the money for our managers that United have had to piss up against the wall on signings. Again, I'm looking at the opposition. United out there doing bits. Arsenal doing bits. Chelsea, well, they're just ridiculous at this point with the amount of ins and outs. So I'm relieved. Really, really relieved. Because I thought United were going to get Harry Kane, and that would have frightened the bejesus out of me. Because he's a goal machine in the Premier League. Liz said about as good as the Maguire deal. Did you see that Manchester United value Harold Maguire at 40 to 50 million human pounds? 40 to 50 million for Maguire. The one who you stripped the captaincy of, and the whole world scene was an absolute catastrophe over the past few seasons. If anybody pays 40 to 50 million pound for Harry Maguire, I don't know what to say. He's not worth anywhere near it. And I'm very intrigued to see if West Ham do get that deal over the line or get it done. Yeah, he's overpriced. Like, United overpaid at the start, like we spoke about. But if you were to put a value on Harry Maguire right now, honestly, without trying to take the piss, 25 to 30 million. Because he's not getting any younger as well. Let's be honest about that. I'm from Denmark. I know Hojlund. United overpaid, said Lars. I think there's a load of potential there, Lars. I've watched Hojlund playing for Atlanta and for Denmark. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad player. He's a good player, but United definitely overpaid by... I think the valuation that PSG put on him was probably fair. What was that, 50 million euro? I think that was a fair valuation when PSG put that offer in for him. But he will be a Manchester United player, along with the new goalkeeper that they brought in as well. So let's wait and see what happens. Max Branning, Eric Ten Hag, spending more than Klopp is mad. I know, it is mad. But again, I'm going to ask the question to my fellow Liverpool fans. At what point do FSG realise that they have to start acting like owners with ambition? Because it's all very well and good talking about the fact that we get transfers right, and we do, but we don't do enough of them. So I'd like to see a bit more pressure put on our owners now, because the window's ticking along. If we get Lavia in, that's great, but it's still only part way through. We have a whole month until the window closes, so yes, keep that in mind. But I've said this before, we don't have wiggle room to start this season poorly. We need to hit the ground running. We also overpaid for Darwin, in my opinion. Yes, Ali, I think that's fair. I think we overpaid for Darwin Núñez as well. And I'm not afraid to admit that when I do. But I will never admit that I think he's a flop. Not at all. I think there's a lot more to come from Darwin. But yes, there was certainly an element of potential in getting that deal done. Yes. Because when you look around the world, right, and you see Haaland at Manchester City, you know what he's going to do, right? The dude's going to score a load of goals. The amount of actual potentially superstar strikers is limited. The pool is quite small. We've got one of them in Darwin Núñez. United could very well have one in Hojlund. And after that, yeah. So I think we did the right thing, but I do agree. I think we paid a tad too much. Patrick Gallagher said, the truth is FSG simply can't afford Liverpool. You know what? It's hard to say if, Patrick, whether they can or can't afford us, but they certainly have no desire to go and put some money into the club to try and push us on. That they're only this line of we invest what we have, we spend what we have. It's a bit of a cop-out. Let's be honest about it. It's a bit of a cop-out. It gives them an easy way to make Liverpool fans feel a little bit guilty, oh, we're spending what we have. We want to make sure the club's sustainable. We don't want to go down the route of what happened with previous owners, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, debt in football isn't always a dirty word. And we have cleared a load of money off the books and wages and stuff this summer. So time to go out and spend and start acting like a big club. Bit of a shout, actually. So, we often have conversations on here about who do we want to replace Jurgen Klopp. Now, thankfully, we don't have to have this conversation for another 2 or 3 years, but Robbie Fowler's been talking about who he'd like to see replace Jurgen Klopp, and I'd be very interested to get your opinion on it. So, Robbie Fowler has said, and I'm going to see if you know who he's talking about here. Well, you're going to know very quickly, actually. I've always liked, okay, I'll tell you, Unai Emery, who took over at Villa Park in October. I know he didn't do that well at Arsenal, although under him, they did reach the Europa League final where they lost to Chelsea. What he didn't deserve was to be mocked at times at the Emirates for struggling to make himself understood with his less than perfect English. That was completely unfair and the wrong perception of a man who I have thought for some time is a top manager. So much that when at one stage last season there was some talk of Jurgen Klopp possibly leaving Liverpool, I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't mind Unai Emery as the next Liverpool boss. So, thoughts? Now, I know people are going to say Alonso, but he's got to go to Real Madrid. That's my understanding of Xabi Alonso, is that when Carlo Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid at the end of next season, that unless Alonso has a horrendous season with Leverkusen, the plan at Madrid seems to be to bring in Xabi Alonso as the next Madrid manager. Loved his style of play since he beat us with Sevilla, said Gerrard. He'd struggle with FSG, said Harry Klein. I don't know, man. Look what he did at Sevilla. Didn't have a huge budget to work with there. I like Alonso, but I can't help but feel we only want him because he used to play for us. Not really. I mean, there is that, I guess, history with Xabi Alonso, but, he truly is thought of well as a manager. Like, he's well regarded and respected as a manager. From what he did with Sociedad's B team, obviously then off to Leverkusen, done very well at Leverkusen and almost moved to Real Madrid, but decided to stay on another season. And with Carlo looking like he's taking the Brazilian job, I think that's where he ends up next. Keep an eye out in about 20 minutes for that bit of information I'm going to be dropping with regards to a potential piece of business for Liverpool Football Club. So don't forget to check it out. Gabri Viega video coming up soon. Talk to you then. Much love. Bye-bye.